I'm Michael. I'm going to be your host for this morning's session. This morning, we're looking at part one of our budgeting series. So we're looking at the standard budget options in Sage 50 accounts. They're the options that everybody has available to them. It doesn't matter what level of software you're on or what version you're on for that matter. Everybody has the standard budgeting option. Now, session is scheduled for around about 45 minutes. It will just depend on how many questions we get along the way. I'll try and pick those up, just myself running the session with you. On the subject of questions, just before we get stuck into the session, I'll quickly go through the housekeeping so you know what's going to be happening. As usual, I will be sharing my screen so you can see me working in the software. We've got a few slides to give us a little bit of structure to the session as well. If anyone wants a copy of today's slides, you can download that via the handout option. So you'll have a copy of those. The detailed information, step-by-step guides, things like that, they're available via our help center. Now, during the session, you don't need a microphone for it. If you do have one, you will find it's muted automatically. So any questions you have for me, you'll need to pop into the questions panel. So you'll have a little toolbar down the right-hand side of your screen, give it a click, and then if you click the icon on that toolbar, the one that looks like a little speech bubble, give it a click, it'll expand the panel, and then you'll have access to that box in the bottom corner. So any comments, questions along the way that you think of, or if you see something in the background and you're not quite sure of it, or maybe I'm trying to explain something and you don't quite get it, let me know. Just pop them in there. Remember to click send, and I'll try and react to those and answer those questions along the way. Now, as usual, this session is being recorded. A link to the recording will be included on your follow-up email. You'll receive that email round about an hour after we finish. So it'll be about quarter to one when you get that email today. And that email will also include links for our upcoming webinars. Timetable currently runs up to the end of February. So do have a look at that and get yourself registered for anything you're interested in. And of course, there'll be a link to our main recordings page as well. So well over 100 topics on there. Do check it out if you're wanting to get as much from your software as you can. Right, let's get stuck in then. So this is what we're going to be covering in this morning's session. So we're going to start with a brief introduction to budgeting. We'll then run through and concentrate on demonstrations within the software. So how you can set and check your methods, how you go about entering budgets under the standard method, how you can import budgets. Some of you might prepare budgets outside of Sage, want to bring those in. And of course, we'll touch on reports as well. Towards the end, I'll explain about how you can go about giving that a go. So a number of options for you there, whether it's in your live company or possibly in the practice data with a copy of your data, or possibly even the demonstration data. It's loads of options for you. And then just at the end, explain a little bit more about the additional support that you've got available. And if there are any outstanding questions, I'll hang around and try and answer those. If I don't get a chance to answer your question, bearing in mind it's just myself on the webinar with you today, then I'll drop you an email later on today with an answer to anything you've asked. But do keep them coming. I'll try my best to pick those up. So as far as budgeting is concerned, the idea of using budgeting is that it will help you monitor your income and your costs in your accounts. And the idea is it will help to you not only sort of monitor that and control it, but also maybe use it for things like assessing the profitability of different areas of your business. Now, there are four budgeting or two budgeting types, but four budgeting methods. So the two types are standard and advanced, and the methods themselves. So you've got the standard, which is available in all levels of the software. And if you're on standard or professional level of Sage 50 accounts, you have access to the advanced methods, which is nominal code, department overview, and department in depth. And this will be one of the reasons I would encourage you, and I'll cover this more towards the end, I would encourage you to give it a go. See which one is right for you. So have a look at the options within your software, have a look at the reporting that's available, that type of thing. But today we're just going to concentrate on the standard method. Now we do have a separate webinar on the advanced, so that's part 2. That will take place next week and the week after. We've got sessions on that one where we cover the 3 methods, but they just build really on the standard method, just a different way of really entering that information. And With it being advanced, it does give you a few more options. So if you haven't yet, I would encourage you to get signed up for that session. Now on the slides, I've included some links. So budgeting and departments within the software tend to go hand in hand. You tend to find that if you're quite strong on the budgeting side, you probably use departments within your software as well for extra analysis. Right, okay, so as far as the standard method is concerned, how can you check what method you sort of set up for? Well, it's easy enough. Within your software, you just go to settings. You go to company preferences. Obviously, it's going to ask you for a password at that stage. And then once you're in the company preferences area, you'll have a budgeting tab at the top. Now, depending on your level of software, you might have a number of different tabs at the top as well. Obviously, that can depend on your version as well. But everyone will have a budgeting tab, and you just need to check that first box and make sure it says standard. That's what we're looking at today. Obviously, if yours says advanced, you'll then have access to the budgeting type as well. Choose one of those 3 types from the drop-down. Now, it's worth noting, particularly if you're planning this in the future or planning to experiment with a little bit in your live set of data, that switching budgeting methods can cause any existing budgets to be lost. Just depends what you switch from and to. So again, I've included a link to the Help Center article on that one. We'll have a look at that in the software as well, just so you can confirm the steps and see where you would check that. Now, for the standard method itself, it is the default method that's set up in Sage. As we've already mentioned, it's available on all levels, so it doesn't matter whether you're on Essentials, Standard, Professional, or even Client Manager, you will have the standard budgeting method available. Now, this monthly budgeting method is by nominal account or nominal code. And we'll have a look at the nominal record in just a moment and what it looks like and how you go about entering that. Number of different ways you can actually enter your values. You can enter them manually against individual months. You can enter them manually as an annual total against a specific nominal code. And you could also import. So again, if you do prepare your budgets either on an annual basis or a monthly basis, depending on what breakdown you want, you can potentially, if you're doing that in Excel, sometimes it could be a little bit quicker doing it that way. You can then import that information. So we're running through that in the session today as well. Within the record, you'll be able to view your budget. You'll be able to view your actual figures, and also you can view your previous year's figures as well with regard to your previous year actuals. Information can be viewed as a graph as well. I'm not that familiar with many people using the graph functionality within a nominal record. Very, very few questions on it, and that's been around for a lot of years. I would think 20 plus years that's been available in the nominal record, if not possibly even longer. But very, very little use in that sort of area. So without further ado, we'll just get stuck into the demonstration as well. Again, keep your questions and your comments coming. I'll just try and pick those up as we're running through. Right, so I'll share my screen. Today I'm going to be working on, let me just check the version we're on. I think it's version 33 today I'm using. Should be. Yeah, sorry, version 32 I've got this set up in. On the subject of version 33, it is available. It's available to download via our Help Center. So if you haven't yet been informed that that's available and you want to get a hold of that prior to you receiving an email or being notified within your software, again, just head along to our Help Center, so sage.co.uk/help. You'll be able to, it'll provide the information that you need on what the enhancements are and also how you go about downloading and installing that. Right, now what I'm covering today will not really change at all. From off the top of my head, I don't think there's any differences between versions on what we're covering today. So just to sort of check the method, first of all, or maybe you want to change it, you would go to settings, second option, company preferences. And then it will ask you for your password. Now, if you're using two-factor authentication, it will ask you for the one that's, it's going to ask you for essentially the one that accompanies your email address. So I'm just going to click log on. It takes me into the company preferences window, and you've got the budgeting tab at the top. So again, depending on your resolution as well on your monitors, you might find this is just one line at the top, but you've got a number of tabs. The budgeting one is the one we're after. So just, I can check there that I'm on standard. If you are on the standard level or the professional level of Sage 50 itself, then you will have the drop down. You'll be able to choose possibly the advanced options as well. But we want to make, for the purpose of this demo, just make sure that we're set up for standard. So that's nice and easy. Now, if we pop into nominal codes, which is where your budgets are entered, and we're just going to bring up a nominal record, and I'll bring up one of my sales nominal codes. Now, within your nominal record, you're going to have, by default, you'll have 4 columns. You'll have your months, so it goes from brought forward, which would be basically anything prior to the start of whatever your current financial year is. You've then got the months of your financial year. Although it says January through to December, that's what my financial year is. It'll obviously just adjust accordingly. So if you run April through to March, yeah, it will list them in that order, obviously. You've then got future, which would be for anything beyond the end of your financial year, and then you've got the total field as well. So that's just basically a set of titles, that one. You've got an actuals column. So as you enter transactions, you post them to the specific nominal code. The value would just go to the appropriate field and add into that. Some of you may have attended the management report sessions, and it's what we term the monthly balances. Some people refer to them as the nominal buckets or the monthly buckets. So it's almost like a pigeonhole. As you enter transactions, it just goes into the relevant one. You've got a budgets column, or by default, you would have a budgets column. If it's not there, it's going to be for one of 2 reasons. One is, first, most likely, is that you're actually set up for an advanced budgeting method. If you are, you won't see the budgets column because that's no longer relevant. You enter budgets in a different area of the software. The other reason why it might not be there is that you've switched your column off. You've hidden it. So a bit like sort of toolbar options and other columns in your software, you can right click on your column headings. It will give you a list of the ones that you can show or hide. So you never know, a bit unusual, but you might have switched it off at some point. So this is also what it would look like if you were on the advanced method. You'll just have the 3 columns. I'm just going to switch that one back on. So any column heading, just right click on it, switch budgets back on. You'll see when I did right click on there as well, I can choose to display additional prior years as well if needed. Well, by default, it would just be your month column, your actuals, budgets, and then 1 prior year. Now, the reason it says to the end of December 2023, just this set of data that I'm using today, it's for the 2024 financial year. So you would have your 2024 financial year, your previous financial year, and then potentially you could display up to 4 additional prior years as well. So you can take your pick from the drop down. Now, as far as keying in your budget figures is concerned, nice and easy. You've got a number of options. This is what we want to get across to you today. What options have you got for keying those in? Now, the first option, nice and easy. You're just clicking into the relevant fields and then type in whatever you want that budget value to be. So this is for the individual nominal code that you're setting the budget. That's what the standard level is all about. It's nominal code level. So you're not entering a total for your sales. You're not entering a total for your purchases. You're doing it at nominal code level. So you just in case of clicking, or you can use your tab key as well to move between the various fields and then typing in the relevant value. And you can enter these at any time. You can amend them at any time as well. So some of you may have seen, if you've run a year end before, you may have seen it mention budgets. Some of you may have attended the webinar where we mentioned that a little bit. So even if you set budgets as part of the year end process, you can still go in and again, you can amend them at any time. Just a case of over typing that. You can include the pence, so if you're in Ireland, you can go to the cent level as well. Now, whatever you key in, it will automatically add that up into the total at the bottom. And it's literally as easy as that. It's going through each individual nominal code and entering your budget values. So that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is literally clicking against the total. Now, if I key in a value, so let's just say 24,000 divides by 12 nicely. Now, as I press the tab key to move out of that field or click out of that field, I'll get a message saying you've entered a total budget value and the program will distribute this total evenly across the individual monthly budgets, overriding any values that are actually there currently. Do you want to do that or not? Now, if I click no or cancel, I'll just back to where I was. Just cancels what I've done. But if I do that again, press the tab key, and this time I'm going to click yes, you'll see it overwrites whatever budgets were there, and all it's done is it's looked at that total, it's divided it by 12, and it's popped that value against each of the individual months. That's what a nice quick way of entering budget values. Now at that point, I can still key in values as well. I can still change them. So just again, click against the relevant value or the relevant month in the budget column, and then I can sort of add that in. And again, it will just start adding that up as I go. Now, what you can't do on the standard budgeting method is you can't enter any brought forward values, and you can't enter any future budgets either. It's the set of budgets, which doesn't matter what financial year you're in, it would use those to compare against the budgets. Now, that annual method of keying in a total is also a good way of resetting your budgets. So if you come in and you think, oh, I've got loads of random figures in there, I don't have to go in and sort of zero it out and then go down to the next one and zero it out. What I can just do is just type in 0 as the total, press the tab key, I get the same message. And then when I click yes, it divides that total of 0 evenly between the months. So it resets the budgets against that particular nominal code. And once you're done, all you would do is you just save your changes. Now let's see if I've got something against my next nominal code. I do. So the other way of setting budgets or even zeroing them out is another way, a good little trick as well. If you're just wanting to sort of almost like reset budgets completely. Maybe you've keyed some in the past and you think, oh, complete mess. I just want to zero them all out and start again with budget values. So a good little trick is to go into tools. You've got a global changes option. Again, not massively well used, this option, but in tools global changes, you've got an option for nominal budgets. Now this is just a little wizard that you can follow through to set your budget figures. You can do other things in here as well. And again, the options that you have available will vary between different levels of the software, but everyone should have the nominal budgets option. Now, if I just select that and click next, it will list all of my nominal codes. Now the idea is you would work through this, so you would highlight the nominal codes that you want to make changes to. So let's just pick on these two as an example, and then we would click next, and we can choose what we want to do with the budget figures. There's various options in here. Well, this is a great option, this one. If I just clear that, if I highlight everything, so I'll click swap, highlights all of my nominal codes. I then click next, and the type of change I want to make, I want to say, right, I want to give a figure for that. And I'm going to leave the value set to 0. So this is going to be the equivalent of me going into each of the nominal records in turn and just typing 0 as the total. That's what I want it to be. So I click next. It lists all of the nominal codes that were highlighted, so my entire list in my case. It shows you the individual months. So if we go down to the 4,000 area, where we did have some nominal codes with a value, I think 4001 was the last one I had. Let's get up to that point. So you can see we had some existing values. Those were the ones in the record. And all it's saying is, right, your new value when you click post is going to be 0. So it's a good way of sort of resetting those budgets within your software. So if I just click post, it tells me the changes can't be reversed. So I just click yes to that, and that's it done. Now it's just going to flicker away there while it runs through that nominal ledger, completing that task. Should be fairly quick though for you. So as I said, there's a few different ways to sort of either set budgets or even reset them and sort of clear them out. Now, the third option for entering your budget values is to import them. Now, if I just get back to my desktop for a moment, I've got a couple of files here. Now, the first one is the nominal record template. So let's just drag that on this screen where you can actually see it. This is a template that's provided for use when importing records. So there's one for things like customer records, supplier records, audit trail transactions, but there is one for nominal records. I'll show you how you can access that one in a moment. But this is the template that you're provided with. So it'll have some colored headings at the top as well. The ones that are sort of this aqua blue color, it indicates that you must enter something in that field. So if I'm importing some information, so let's say I want to do 5,000 against nominal 5,000. Put my name in there. Now you would only need a name if you are importing brand new records. If all you're wanting to do is update existing information, which is ideally what you're doing for budgets, then you can leave the name blank. So the yellow ones indicate it's an optional field. Now I can enter my budgets in, again, one of two ways. I can enter an annual budget, or I can just enter the individual budgets, monthly balances. So I'll key one in for nominal 5,000, just leave it at that. And then I'll just save it. I can close out. The other thing you might do is you might use your own file. So it might be something as simple as this one that I've prepared, where it just says nominal code and it says budget. Again, I'll maybe put one on the end of that as well. We'll do annual budget of, let's say 24,000 this time. So it might be something as simple as that. So you don't have to use a template when you're importing. So just pop in the nominal code and pop in the annual budget value. If you wanted to, obviously, you might have the months listed as well. So it depends which way you want to go with that. Just close out. Let's save those changes for me. Go back to Sage. And we're going to go through the import routine. So I'm going to show you how easy it is to import. If you've never used import before, I always think it's a worthwhile option to at least be aware of. You might never use it, but if you are aware of what import can do, we've got a couple of webinar recordings on importing records and importing transactions. You never know. At some point, you might be sat there and think, oh, well, I'm just repeating this process time and time again. Maybe someone gives you a list of expenses. Your accountant gives you a list of adjustments at year end. There might be data that comes from other software. For instance, if you might use payroll software, but it's not Sage payroll software, it's just another company's software. If you can output that information, like say your payroll information, you might then be able to import it. So this is where you might start spotting opportunities where actually, rather than me sitting there keying that in, could I just import that information if it's already available in the likes of a file? So again, if you're not that familiar with importing, do check out the recordings. Now to import, I'm going to show you the basics of it. So we'll go to File. To import as well, it is a program, what we term a program exclusive zone as well, which means that if you've got colleagues that work in Sage as well, they would need to be logged out so you can access the import option. If they're not, you'll get that standard message that says you can't access this because such and such is logged in. Similarly, if you are working through the import routine and they try to log in, they'll get a message saying you can't log in at the minute because you are logged into the import wizard. Anyway, we'll quickly work through the import option just so you can see what that looks like. So it's File and then Import. It launches the import wizard. If you want copies of the templates that we're looking at earlier, then just on step 1, you've got a link here in paragraph 2. You just give it a click and it'll should open up a folder that contains those import templates. Now you will have them all listed, but you might not be able to use them, or some of them, because maybe you don't have access to that area. So for instance, projects, there's a couple for that one. You would only have access to projects in your software if you're on the professional level. You still have the template there in the background, but you wouldn't be able to use it because you don't have access to that module within your software itself. So the one you'd be after for what we're covering today is the nominal record full template. If I just open it, you'll see this is what the template looks like. Obviously before I had a few figures copied on it. So that's how we can access them if you need them. Now going back to the data import wizard itself, you can see there are 5 steps, just a case of following that through. First step done, obviously it gives you a little bit of information on the welcome one. It does prompt you to back up. I would always encourage you to take that backup at this stage. You just click backup, you'll open the normal backup wizard, choose your options, enter the file name, choose your location, click OK. Just let it run through, that's it done. The reason for that is just if you do import, sometimes you might be able to delete the information and reset it. Other times you might think, well, actually, it's just not convenient to do that. You might have selected the wrong file to import. You might have imported transactions. Imagine if your import file had 500 transactions on there. You don't want to be sitting there import or deleting 500 transactions manually. So if you've taken the backup at the stage, you do something wrong, you could restore back to this point in time before you've imported. So that's the importance of taking that backup. I'm going to skip past it for the purpose of the demo though. So we'll click next. It then takes you on to step 2. So what is it that you want to import? So it's nominal accounts in this instance. So I click next. You're then prompted for the data source. So where's the data actually held that you want to import? So I just click browse. Mine's on my desktop. The 2 files. So I'm going to use the first file that we looked at, the one that uses the template, and then we'll come back on to budgets where I entered some manually. So the full template, I'll just highlight that, click open. You're then prompted Does your import file contain headings or not? So have you got column headings? Now mine did, it's the template. So I'll leave that unticked. Now, if you're using your own file, for instance, and maybe you've got multiple sheets within your workbook, it will then give you an additional option at the bottom here that says, right, which of the worksheets in your spreadsheet contains the information that you want to import? So again, you would just get that additional drop down. So it's not on the template, which is why it doesn't prompt me with that extra option. I click next, and it will take me on to step 4, which is the field mappings. Now, this is what gives the import routine its flexibility. So it's saying, right, these are your Sage fields. So your reference, your name, yearly budgets. Now, because we've used the templates, the import file contains a number of fields as well. And obviously the template, it uses the same column headings as what Sage requires. I'll show you what that looks like when I'm not using the template in a moment. So everything is essentially mapped for me. Now, if it wasn't mapped for whatever reason, it would just be a case of you clicking on the drop down and choosing the relevant column heading. So reference in this case being the nominal code. So it's saying, right, to import into the nominal code in Sage, which of your columns contains that information? So on the template, it's reference as well. So I'll just accept all of that. I'm going to click next. It takes me on to step 5, just saying, right, you're now ready to import your data. So we'll click import. It'll do 2 passes of your data. Now, mine was very quick because there's virtually nothing in that file. There's only 4 lines in there. If yours takes a while, probably more noticeable if you're importing, hundreds of records or hundreds of transactions. It'll do pass 1 and then pass 2. So when it's importing, pass 1, it reads the information in your file, just validates it, make sure it's in the right format, make sure it's got all the relevant information in there. And then once it does pass 1, if you go into it'll then complete pass 2, which is when it's writing that information into your accounts. So it's imported those 4 lines from that template file. So if I just close, I'll go back to nominal codes, and we're just going to bring up nominal 4,000. And you can see that from that import template, we had 36,000. And all it's done is it's just divided that equally between the months. So that was the one where we had an annual value. If you go to the next nominal code, again, we had 24,000. Again, it's just divided it equally. And then it was the next nominal code. Well, that one didn't have an annual balance. It had individual figures. So it's popped them against the relevant months. And then the other one that we added that extra row onto the spreadsheet was 5,000, where we keyed in again 12,000. It's just divided that. So that's again equivalent of me coming in and just typing in the total, moving out of the field, and then clicking yes to that little prompt that comes up. So it's again nice quick way of entering your budget figures. If you are using your own file, good little tip if you've got Excel is when you're looking at the likes of your list here, you might think, well, actually I'll just send that to Excel. It'll send your list across. The one you sitting in and think, oh, what's my nominal codes again? Which ones are they? I can't remember. So this is a good way of, right, we've got them in there. And it could be something as simple as this. So if I get rid of that information, I don't want the inactive, the debits, etc. I'll just delete those columns. And then all I would do is I would maybe do something like, say, budget. And then I would come down, find the relevant nominal codes. I can see why, well, that one I want to be, let's say, 50,000. That's the annual budget for next year. For sales type B, I'm thinking that's going to be 35,000. And again, makes it easy to do. I could just save that file then. So I'll do File, Save As, give it a file name. Couldn't think where to click there. Click in the top box. I'll just put my initials on there, and I will also make sure I save that to my desktop so I can easily find it. There it is. Close the file, and then again, if I wanted to, I could go through that import routine. So imports. Just quickly follow that through. It's nominal accounts I want to import. Browse for that file. So it's on the desktop. I'll just use my initials. There it is. It does contain headings at that the first sort of row within my file. Clicked a few too many times. So the name is included in my file. The reference, so obviously took out nominal code. So I just need to specify it this time. So I'm using my own file. So I just N/C for my nominal code, got the name in there, and I also want to import the yearly budget from that budget column. So I can click next, click import. Again, it'll do pass 1, pass 2. Not much for it to import this time. And then if I go back to nominal codes, bring up that nominal code, so it was 4,000. And you can see it's had to tweak it by the odd penny here and there, just because of the rounding on the individual monthly balances. But other than that, that's it done. It's a nice quick way of getting your nominal list into the likes of Excel so that you can start then changing if needed. Now, if I just go back to my original file, I just want to quickly show you that one again. The original one I was going to show you how to import. We've almost just done that anyway, but this was it. It was a very basic file. I've got a few nominal codes listed, got some budget values there as well. So if I just close out of that, it's worth bearing in mind if you are importing, you must make sure you've got the file that you want to import, it must be closed. So we go back to Sage, into File, Import. And then again, we just follow the wizard through. So you would take that back up, choose nominal accounts, browse for your file. See if I can find it. It was that one. It does contain headings. It takes me on to step 4, which is the field mappings. Now the headings in my file, this time, it just didn't contain any of the same headings that it could match to. So all that's referring to is it's saying, well, reference, there's not an equivalent one called reference in that import file. So for the nominal code, what I need to do is say, right, well, that information is contained in the NC column in my file. Now, it doesn't include a name. I don't need to import the name. It's not a required field. So I just want to say, right, nominal code and the yearly budget. So into the yearly budget, I want to extract the figures from that budget column. That's what I want to import. Obviously, if you've got individual monthly budget figures, you would just need to go down and map the relevant fields. So against month 1 budget, you would just click on the drop down and choose the appropriate column that contains that information from your individual file. But it's just those 2 that I need to map in this instance. Just follow that wizard through. Should do pass 1, pass 2. Tells me that's what's been imported. And again, if I go back to nominal codes, pull up that value, so nominal 4,000. thinking, yeah, I think I was looking before thinking, why have I just put 1200 as the annual budget? But yeah, that's what was in my own file. And you can see, again, it's amended those values. Now, they're not cast in stone. I can still click, I can amend them, change them, remove them, whatever I want to do. So it's a nice, quick way of setting them. But again, you've still got that flexibility of making changes if required. So those are your key options for entering budgets under the standard method. So manually entering them, entering an annual total, or using the import option. Any questions on those so far? Jackie, I'll come back to your question a little bit later on if you don't mind, because it links in with the reports that I want to quickly cover as well. But again, if anyone else thinks of any other questions, do keep them coming. I'm just going to pop back to the slides for a moment, because I want to pick up on reports. Now, there's, as you're probably aware, there's loads of reports in Sage. For budgeting, or for standard budgets, there are, I suppose, two key reports. It might just be you go into your nominal record and you're just looking at them and you can compare them then. You might want to send that information to Excel from an individual nominal code. But you've got reporting options. So you've got the comparative P&L reports from within nominal codes. You've got the variances report, which is also known as the budgets report. And you've also got, within the reports folder, you've got a nominal reports subfolder. Just depends what information you want. Now, because there's that many reports available, as you can probably imagine, one of our most common questions, and you've probably been in this yourself, in this position, where you think, right, well, I know what I want, but I just can't find that report. So you've got a number of resources available to help. Now, prior to version 30 or Help Center, we had this article called what we term Which Report. It's still there, so you can still use it if you want to. And what you would do is you would go on and you would type in some keywords, and it would search based on what you've typed to try and say, right, is this the report you're after? It'll give you a list of them, what that report is, its description, and also where you would run that report from. And that information is now built into your software within version 30 and above, what we term the report finder. So if you're ever stuck, get into the report finder. You just go into any reports ledger and you'll have that report finder tool available to you. And again, the idea is you pop in some keywords and it will try and identify the report that you're after. So just to try and point you in the right direction. But let's have a quick look at reporting. So we'll go back to my screen. So your two key reports for the standard budgeting method is, first of all, the comparative P&L. If I just give that one a click and I'll just preview it. Now this one, the font is tiny on this one because there's that much information to display. It presents the information in a profit and loss format. So hopefully most of you are familiar with that one. So you would choose your period. Obviously, it's based around whatever the financial year is in your software. Remember, I said mine was set to still an older set of data, still 2024. It's picked up that full financial year. So these top two would be the criteria options you get when you run a P&L. You've then got a choice of what budget information you want to show. Now, you might not want to show budget information on this report at all. You might want to show it. You might want to show it with a variance. You might want to show everything to do with that budget. So variance both as a value and as a percentage. So you'll get the budget value, you get the difference as a value and as a percentage. So it depends what you want to show. So I'll show all. Prior year values, I'm going to say don't show that one. I don't want to overcomplicate things on this report. So I'll just OK that. So preview the report for me. Now that's tiny even on my screen. If you've run this report before, even with my glasses, I cannot read that. So remember, you've got your zoom tool at the bottom. It's so small because potentially there's so much information to include it. You might even think, well, actually, I'll run that report, but I want to output that to Excel, make it even bigger. So as I mentioned, it provides the information in the format of a profit and loss report, where you would have your descriptions and your sections, and you've got your period columns as well. So you've got your period and a year to date. So the actual columns would be the equivalent of your profit and loss, both for the period and the year to date. Your budget shows the relevant values for you. You've got your budget variance as a value. So actual minus your budget gives you a variance. And then you've got your variance percentage. And it just repeats that for the rest of your, essentially your profit loss area of your nominal codes. The other report, the variances report, as I say, what used to be known as the budgets report. I think it's still called that one by the time you run it. And again, just profit and loss. It will essentially give you the same information almost as what we've just looked at. So it gives you your actual, so your actual figures for the current financial year. It tells you what your budget is, what your variance is, and also your ratio percentage. Now, we always get asked about the ratio percentage. The ratio percentage is whatever your, essentially your actual figure is as a percentage of total sales. It's always as a percentage of total sales. So your purchases, £3,000. So let's say that's 22.22% of your total sales. And it repeats that all the way down. So it's always as a percentage of total sales. So in this case, I only got one product sales row essentially. So essentially that's 100% of the total sales value. Other reports you'll find for budgeting anyway, you'll find them by going into nominal codes, into reports, and then you will have the nominal budgets folder. Again, you've got other various options in there as well. So if you want to look at your certain months side by side, you've got them on a quarterly basis, etc., you can do that. The report finder I mentioned as well, it's helping you to find whatever it is you're after. All you need to do is give it a click. To enable it, you will need to connect your Sage accounts to an actual Sage account, which if anyone uses things like bank feeds or remote data access or any of the other connected services, such as Copilot as well, then you will already be set up with that. So in that instance, it will just give you a list of and let you start sort of keying in keywords so it can then display a list of possible reports for you. So have a look through that as well, if you get a chance. Give it a go as well. Now I'm going to pop back to our next slide, which is all about giving it a go. You've got a number of options with Sage. It might be something that you want to try. This might be something that you want to experiment with before, without making changes to your live company. So when you open Sage 50 accounts, or if you're in Sage 50 accounts, you can go to File, Open, and then you've got two practice areas. You've got the demonstration data, and you've got the practice data. Now, the demonstration data is just loads of random customer accounts. There's loads of data already in there for you to play around with. Great learning tool. The practice data is essentially a blank company. So you go into it and you start from scratch, which is great if you're trying to do something and you're trying to track what that looks like in the software and see how it affects different areas of the software. So if you were learning invoicing for the first time, for instance, you might, create a customer and a product, one invoice, and you can track that sort of progress without being sort of almost like distracted by other information within your software. Now, with the practice company, if you're on version 30.1 or above, and I'll quickly show you this one. I'll quickly go back to my screen. if I just close out of that for a moment, if I go to File, Open, and then Open Practice Data, if you're on 30.1 or above, you will get this prompt. So if you're 30.0 or below, you will just go straight into the blank data. But 30.1 or above, you can use your own data. So you can actually restore backup, so a copy of your data into that practice company, and it will sit there and you'll be able to use it for the duration of while you're in that practice company. When you close out, it'll just reset itself. So it means that you can have a bit play around with the budgeting method using a copy of your live data so you can see how it would impact on yours. Great for troubleshooting issues as well, but also meaning that you can have a go of it and see how it's going to work with your information that you are familiar with. So do bear those ones in mind. When you're coming into Sage as well, if I just go back to that slide for a moment, when you're prompted with your company selection list, as well as your company or companies, if you've got more than one, you will have these two options as well, the demonstration data, the practice data. It means that you give it a go. Right, just coming towards the end of the webinar at that point, remember there is session 2, which will start next week and it will run the week after as well. So do get yourself signed up for that one as well if you are interested. If you've got any final questions, if you want to quickly pop them into the questions panel, again, you can download the handout if you want. The session's being recorded. A link to that recording will be included. So Jackie, I'm going to pick up on your question in just a second. So budgets part 2, this is the one we mentioned. So that's Thursday the 22nd of January and Tuesday the 27th of January. Again, 45 minutes. We'll similar sort of format where we run through the advanced methods. So nominal code, departmental overview, and also department in depth. With the advanced methods, you've got a bit more functionality in there. So you've got, as well as your current financial year, you can also enter what we term your forecast year as well. So what will be your next financial year? So you can set that up in advance. So you do that against the 3 methods, but we'll be running through them and showing you what options you've got. For webinars, our plan, our registration page, our schedule, it's there now. It runs up to the end of February. If anyone's got any requests like you'd like to see covered going forward, particularly if you think of anything new that maybe we've not covered before, do let us know. There'll be a little survey pop up as you leave, but otherwise the link is included on your follow-up email. But head along to sage.co.uk/webinars and you'll be able to get yourself registered for any sessions that take your fancy. A couple of other bits of information which I've included on the handout today as well, just to raise your awareness, is first of all the Community Hub. So Community Hub, if you've not come across it before, it's our online forum. It's on the Sage website. It's for different Sage products, so available at any time. It's obviously free to join if you don't already have a login for it. And you can ask questions. You can answer questions as well if you want to, for that matter. So if you think, I know the answer to that one, or I can offer some general business advice, maybe that's what you're after. It doesn't necessarily have to be just about your software. So it's just a forum board. So get on there, get yourself a log on if you haven't already. I've included the link. So when you click it, when you go to log in, if you haven't already got a log on, it will let you create one there and then. That should be instant as well. Other one to mention as well is our brand new Sage Learning Survey, if you can. Again, I've included the link on the handout, so if you've got your phone handy, just scan that QR code now. 2 questions on there, and it doesn't relate to your software. It's just, right, what we're after is, what is it you want to learn about going forward? So non-product related. Is it AI you want to learn about? Is it finance options? Is it environment? Whatever it is. So there's 2 questions on there. If you can quickly complete that, that would be great. So we'll ask you about what areas you're interested in, and also sort of what format you would like to receive the training on, if at all. So is it webinars? Is it e-learns? Is it videos? So you let us know. So if you could do that, would be greatly appreciated. So just two questions for that one. Right, brings us to the end of the session. I've got one question, which was from Jackie. Jackie was just saying she changed some budget figures during the year, but on your reports, you'll see it doesn't show the updated budget value, only the original figure. Do you know what method you set up for, Jackie? As that will determine which reports are applicable to you. I think what's probably happened is that you've originally entered your budgets under the standard method, and at some point you've probably switched across to the advanced method, in which case it's looking for your values from different areas. I suspect that's probably what's happened in that instance, but let me know, Jackie. So if you want to check whether you're on standard or advanced, again, just go to settings, company preferences, ask you for your password, and on the budgeting tab, it's that first box. So as I say, I suspect what has happened, you originally set up for standard, you've entered some budget figures, you've then switched to advanced, or possibly you've gone you may have even gone the other way. Now you're seeing on the standard now. Right, in which case, can you drop me an email, Jackie? Just any of your webinar emails, just reply to it, and we'll pick it up privately from that point. See if we can get to the root of it for you. Might even involve me giving you a phone call, just to have a quick look at that with you. But if you could do that, just so I've got your contact details, and then we can take it from there. So any webinar email, just click reply. It'll either be addressed to myself or my team's mailbox, and as I say, we'll pick it up from that point. But I think it probably does involve the fact that you've changed methods at some point. We'll find out. Right, let me quickly thank you for attending. Really appreciate you coming along. Not many of you on the session this morning. Wasn't very well advertised, this session at all. But there'll be a little survey, the standard survey to complete. That should pop up as you leave the session today. If you could take a minute to complete that, always appreciated. We love reading those comments. Did we hit the mark? Is it what you expected? What would you like to see next? How could we improve the webinars? Let us know. So really valuable feedback each and every time. And watch out for your follow-up email, and hopefully we'll see you on some other webinars very soon. If not part 2, maybe some of our other sessions. We'll end the webinar at that point. Many thanks, and hopefully I'll see you again.